Hi boys and girls, this is the explanation of reading A. Can Hong Kong Central Harbourfront be more prime than real estate? And this is from 2018. It's more recent, so it's more relevant. Let's see the first paragraph to decide what Christopher thinks. Okay, is it positive or negative view on the development of Central Harbourfront? Can it be more than prime estate? That means, can it be not just for commercial purposes? Yeah, so please write it down. Can it be not just for commercial purposes? Okay, can it be not just for commercial purposes? That means this person support having more space, right? The city's most valuable site, please highlight with me, is estimated to sell for, oh my God, that's a lot of money, right? You can make so much money if you sell it. No wonder it's a struggle for the government. It's US dollars. We're talking about 10.2 billion. That's about 80 billion Hong Kong dollars. But yet, no user-friendly plan. So maybe I'll draw a plant. Yeah. No user-friendly plan has been put forward to turn the harbourfront into a space to rival. The word rival means compete. Okay, we know that in places like Sydney and Stockholm. Stockholm is in Sweden, capital city. So, oopsie. Anyways, you know what I'm writing. Compete. Casey Wong was sitting on a bench along the Central Harbourfront. I don't care about this person, but why are we mentioning this person? There must be a reason why paragraph 1 tells you, oh, this is paragraph 1. Reason why we're describing this person. Because this is a renowned sculpture artist. Sculpture artist means like statues, okay? Statues, art statues. And they want to put it, back then they put it at the Central Harbourfront, and people, we've got TV crew reporting, and then there were 6 wireframe sculptures called asteroids and comets. And it seemed like back then in 2018, we had a sculpture park, which is very rare in Hong Kong. Big objects. Not only do we have grass and blue sky, but we managed to put these art pieces on the grass. That is very rare in Hong Kong. We don't have that often. So, is this for commercial purposes or to create open space? Boys and girls, this is obviously talking about the cool open spaces that we could have if the government allows us to have such a space in Hong Kong, and for us to turn it into a chill out zone. This is positive for us, okay? This is positive for the point I want open space. The Harbour Art Sculpture Park. So back then in 2018, I'm not sure if it's still there now. I do see some sculptures. I remember a few years ago, I saw this huge whale or shark sculpture there at the park. These days, I walk past the park. It's not there anymore. Lasted for only 7 weeks this year. It was not permanent. It was only 7 weeks. And then to bring top-notch public art. Where can you find public art back in the days? You can only find it in central LKF area. Yeah, and it's not really comfortable for normal people like us to go in there, because it seems to be for the rich, and that's why it's not really for everyone. But this art sculpture park, it's for everyone, and it was along the shore of Victoria Harbour. That means the Central Harbour front. Unprecedented. Learn how to say it. That's why I insist to read everything out. Please learn how to read the words. That means it had never happened before. Never in the history happened before. So this is the first time that we have quality public art, and it is so rare. This is so rare. This is an example, boys and girls. This is an example of open space, how we can make good use of it for art purposes. For art purposes. Okay? And it's a very good example because we're not giving people terrible artwork. We're providing them with the best form of arts for free. Yeah? And then the space here, it continues to talk about the space is very rare. Please highlight. You can use it in your writing. Less than 40% of the harbourfront is even accessible to the public. What is the government doing with the other 60%? So you can find out, do research online and find out. This article was in 2018. It's not the latest plan, but this history would be our point for argument that it happened before. We had used it for public art and for us to relax. And it was also the reclaimed land from the sea over just a decade ago. Learn the word decade, boys and girls, and write down. This is 10 years, boys and girls. 10 years. You must know this word, boys and girls. In DSE, this is a word that you have to know. If you don't know, please don't sit for DSE. Okay, after a year, if you still don't know the word decade, you are not ready for the exam. You need to take another year for studying. Otherwise, it's such a waste of time and your effort to sit in the exam because when you're not ready. Retains, that means keeps. Okay, retains means keep. Keep. The feeling of interstice, a leftover patch of earth caught between. That means this is such a rare space. Earth means the land caught between the towers of Central and the busy waters of the harbor. It is such an amazing place. It's relaxing. You have these towers for business, and the busy waters would mean the Victoria Harbour. Waters means the sea. You see all these cargo ships and big boats in the Victoria Harbour. And this is the place for relaxation, boys and girls. Alright, so paragraph 4, boys and girls, moving on. Please try to follow this. You can use these points for your writing, but use your own words. Awesome. It starts with a present participle, explaining the reason. So please use present participle, PP, present, and then participle. Try to use it. Okay, my terrible handwriting, you know why, because I'm using the laptop. Can't really help it if I don't have a proper pen. I'm just using a tool. Alright, so next to the harbourfront, we have the governments. We've got a negative word. Daunting means scary. Okay, daunting means scary. Scary is negative. Why is it difficult to write? Okay, daunting headquarters in the water in the background. So it means it seems scary to have ugly buildings. The buildings are not pretty, so it doesn't match with the harbourfront, the background, and the gleaming skyscraper beyond that. So you have these buildings that don't really match with this relaxing area. There's lack of proper design to make the government buildings look better, more comfortable to watch, to see. It was making the writer think of the origins of Hong Kong. So, origins of Hong Kong. What's the origin of Hong Kong? You can use this to explain why it is so important to have an open area. Okay, you can use this to explain it. There has never been a sculpture park, yeah, on the waterfront before, because until now, it has never been space for it. There's never been space. So now that we finally have the space, shouldn't we think about turning it into to create open space for the public? Now, the writer mentioned that every problem is a property problem. Yeah, and maybe you want to use it in your writing to explain why the government never leaves space for open space for the public. Because it seemed to be so desperate to create more houses. Okay, this means the government really wants to create more houses, but is it worth sacrificing the open space that we deserve? Okay, because open space is actually giving us time to think about the origins of Hong Kong, how Hong Kong started. And if you don't know how Hong Kong started, in one of the paragraphs it tells you why how it started. It's obviously the Victoria Harbour creating this business places, right? And I think it's towards the end of the writing. It tells you the origin of the of Hong Kong. So after the just past Wong's sculptures, learn how to say it, crowds were assembling. That means gathering for the latest edition of Art Central. And there was this cool event. Takes place in a temporary event space. Temporary means it's only for a few months. You know that the government, has not made up its mind yet to turn the Central Harbourfront to an event place, to a permanent relaxation place. You can notice that if you walk to the Star Ferry, there are big pieces of land and it's just empty there for ages and ages, especially with the COVID. None of the festivals and carnivals can be there, so this temporary event space is wasted. It's completely wasted. We cannot go in there. It's blocked. Imagine that we have all these spots open up for us. Even during the COVID, we will have more spaces to sit down and more spaces for us to practice social distancing, even if we're out of our home. So you could tell that, why are they closing it even if there's nothing going on? We do not have the carnivals, we do not have the music festival, the Ferris wheel at the background, and the writer describes this temporary event space. It's weedy and vacant. Vacant means empty. It's no one is using it. Weedy means all these grass that are growing. The grass is growing. A bit further along the water, there's the ferry piers, a bus terminal, and the entrance to a new underground expressway. Yes, we do have an underground expressway that bypass Central and Wan Chai. It's a collection of urban detritus. Asteroid and Comet is the name of the sculpture artwork you'll see in the previous paragraph, left over from the cosmic churns of Hong Kong property development. What does it mean? The last sentence is super difficult. Now, last sentence here means that we know these were used to describe the positive artwork. It's the name of the art pieces we saw in the previous paragraph, and they are positive. They are positive, but here we're saying that these good stuff are the leftovers. Oh, sorry, not good things. Asteroids here would mean leftover pieces. If there's an asteroid and it falls onto the Earth, those are leftover. So it's bits and pieces is leftover. Sorry, when I saw these two words, asteroid and comets, I was thinking about the sculpture, the name of the sculpture, and those were cool things. But we can see this is in small letter, so they are describing the actual debris from the awesomeness. So what it means is back in the days we had the carnival and music festival, and that temporary event space was so much fun. Now we don't have anything. It becomes a leftover, it becomes a waste, it becomes a weedy vacant lot. Back then it's for the property development, not building houses, but for commercial purposes. And we could tell that whenever we have these temporary commercial spots, it's not permanent. It is not permanent. And now you can see that because it's not permanent, you have these leftover spots. And the question is it good? Is it good for us? Is it good for us to waste the space? Okay, jewel in the crown. Jewel in the crown is 东方之珠, that kind of meaning. In the next paragraph, we can see paragraph 6. Hong Kong's last best hope for a great waterfront to rival, to compete. This is the second time you see the word rival. If you are my rival, that means you compete with me. You are my competitor. And our competitors are Stockholm, Sydney, and San Francisco. So you can go online and see how well they develop the waterfront, how comfortable it is. And you can put some names and examples there, what they do with it. The Central Harbourfront is the jewel in crown. St. Nicholas broke. Sorry, not broke. It's broke. Chairperson of the Harbourfront Commission. So we have this organization called Harbourfront Commission. You can look up on the internet to find out what their latest plan is for your writing. Advises the government. Although less than, so let me write down, you need to do research. You need to go to the website and find out more about their latest plan. Although less than half of it's still, in 2018, it is still less than half. Before it was only 40% for us to use for as chill out zone and running, cycling, etc. However, and now it's a little bit, I think it's the same, less than half. That means maybe 40% still. It's 73 kilometers now, accessible to the public. So make comparison, please. Go back to the articles in 2015 and 2016. As 50 of those kilometers are controlled by the government. Yeah, controlled by the government. We know that's for the military purpose. Because of that, we have the opportunity to do something very special. I know it's not everything, but we have something. Can we turn it into something special instead of the boring, dull government buildings or offices? So paragraph 8 said, just how special will it be depends entirely on the government. So the government still has a lot of say. The public, if we voice out our opinion, we want it for running, we want it for cycling. It doesn't seem to happen. Its official plan promises that the new Central Harbourfront will be the centerpiece of Hong Kong, a world-class showpiece of the heart at the heart of our city, which turns into a vibrant, that means very energetic, attractive, accessible, and symbolic, something that can represent Hong Kong. Okay, boys and girls, we need to write down the letter D because this is the ideal way. This is the dream. This is the dream, what the government promises us. Okay, but is it going to happen in the future? Yeah, we need to think about it. What do we want? The writer said, we've got little evidence. It's not happening at the moment. Please highlight more than a decade. More than a decade. Now we are talking about, hey, it's been 10 years. And I don't see much happening at the harbourfront. We still see empty spots that people cannot walk in there. Okay, again, I'm telling you the word decade, you must know for DSE, was unveiled. No plans yet. Unveiled, veil, V-E-I-L, is 面纱. 面纱, you cover your face with it. Unveiled means to reveal, to show, and it's not being shown at the moment. Harbourfront is being chopped into parcels for eventual tender. We do it for sale and development. We chop it into tiny parts for commercial purposes, and it's business as usual. Hey, 說好的 open space, where is it? Where is the open space for us to relax? And people think that it's not good enough. It isn't. It's just not good enough. More people talk about it. We're losing major opportunities, says the veteran urban planner. So you can look up what urban planner said, like Peter Cookson-Smith, who helped plan Shatin and Taipo new towns in the 1970s, and you can look up whether it's successful. I think Shatin and Taipo new towns, it's quite comfortable. You have the cycling trail, you have the canal in Shatin. Canal is the spot like a river, but it's not a river, it's a man-made river. And if you have that, it helps to cool down the area, and it's comfortable to run along the canal. One of our problems in Hong Kong is that we don't have enough examples. We do not have examples. So we know that, hey, earlier on, we talked about the art sculpture park. That was one of our rare examples, what we could do with the open space. We don't have the sort of dynamic, we don't have this awesome waterfront activities that many cities do. If we want these things to happen in Hong Kong, we have to change the way we go about our urban planning. We need to plan better for our urban city, and we need to design it better. We don't want ugly buildings anymore, okay? So this is obviously a suggestion. Please write it down. You can use it in your writing, but make sure you use your own words. You can't copy everything from the passage because that is plagiarism, and then you might be disqualified in DSE. Sorry for my ugly handwriting. Let me say it again. Paragraph 9 is a suggestion of what the government should do. Okay, so this here tells you the origin of the harbor front of Hong Kong. And we know that it's all about the harbor, and that's why the space along the harbor is so important. It is Hong Kong. It tells us what Hong Kong is. If we see ugly buildings, and just more ugly buildings, then it sort of overpower the harbor. We lost it. We will lose it. It is the harbor that brings us opportunities. It is the harbor that turns Hong Kong into a trading hub. It is the harbor that turns Hong Kong into commercial cities. We need to appreciate the harbor. Boys and girls, did you hear me using repetitive sentences to make myself sound more convincing? So use rule of 3. Do you still remember rule of 3 and form 3? Yeah, it brings the flow of people. It brings people to the harbor. It brings people the products. It brings people the money. So, can we just make good use of the harbor area? All the history, all of this happens in Central back then. So Central is super important. It worth time for us to carefully plan this place. Do we want it to be just ugly buildings, or an area which we don't care about making money, but it's for the people? Okay, so this is the article. Please make sure you highlight it, use the points in it for your writing.